Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, friends. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. Back at a wall, not the wall, but for those of the OGs of the channel, you may appreciate this kind of content. Today we're talking about Stamford Bridge. That's right, the new owners' new stadium? When Rain Group sold Chelsea Football Club, that was part of the terms. If you buy Chelsea Football Club, you've got to build a new stadium. So today we're going to start an article from The Telegraph written by Matt Law. I will leave a link to said article down in the description below for your consideration. And we're going to find out what is going on. If you do want to support the channel, please do consider dropping a like. And you are all, of course, welcome to subscribe. Right then, with that being said, let's see what Matt Law's saying on The Telegraph. Chelsea are holding a new round of talks over their £1.5 billion stadium project as the Todd Boehly Clearlake Capital owners inch closer to a decision that will shape the club's future. Amidst this poor form of Chelsea Football Club at present, it's nice to hear about some positive stuff like a new stadium, which of course would be better for the match-going fans in terms of experience, will generate more revenue for the club, and if built appropriately will help the team perhaps with better acoustics from fans cheering. While much of the focus has been on how long the board can keep faith with the head coach Graham Potter after a terrible run of results, Chelsea have an even bigger issue coming to a head. Boehly and his co-controlling partner, Bedad Eghbali, are adamant that Chelsea must have one of the best stadiums in England and in Europe by the time the project comes to an end, with 2030 regarded as the earliest possible move-in date. Well, that's going to take bloody ages. Telegraph Sport understands that knocking down Stamford Bridge and building a new stadium on the existing site is currently emerging as the most likely option, although a final decision is yet to be taken. Chelsea board member Jonathan Goldstein, who is in charge of the project with Janet Marie Smith, the executive vice president of planning and development for the LA Dodgers, is holding talks with Chelsea pitch owners and waiting to find out whether a $50 million bid to buy a plot of land next to Stamford Bridge has been successful. Buying this 1.2-acre site that belongs to a housing association stall would be a huge boost to any plans building on the existing site, and it would provide Chelsea with increased space for fan parks and offices, while leaving enough room for a new state-of-the-art stadium that could hold at least 55,000. Well, we were all hoping for around 60,000. I think what is 44,000 or 42,000 at the moment, Stamford Bridge, so really, we don't necessarily need like a Wembley or Old Trafford, but you'd want something hopefully around 60,000 capacity. And in terms of knocking it down and building it up again, I thought we were going to do a stand at the time and perhaps not have to move away to like Twickenham or Wembley or whatever. But let's read on. But Chelsea supporters are going to be warned there is a no problem free solution. Whichever of the three proposals the owners choose to start to work on, building a new stadium on the existing site, redeveloping Stamford Bridge, or relocating, it's never going to be easy. Boehly and Clearlake have reassured the Chelsea pitch owners that they would only seriously consider a move away with their backing, which means knocking down Stamford Bridge and building a new stadium, as previous owner Roman Abramovich had planned to do, currently represents the most realistic option. Chair of the CPO Chris Isett said, "The CPO is having positive talks with the club about redevelopment. We understand this is a complicated project which needs careful consideration, but we share the common aim, which is to have the best stadium in London." And that's saying something, because though I haven't been, and though it hurts me to say it, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is supposed to be pretty ruddy good. So here are the three options. The first one is knock down and rebuild Stamford Bridge. This is currently the most likely scenario and the one the previous owner Roman Abramovich was granted planning permission for. Building a new stadium on the existing site would also be the most popular option among the majority of the Chelsea supporters and pitch owners. I actually did a video on this a long time ago. It did really well, where I spoke about Roman Abramovich actually returning to England. When's that going to happen? And when is this new stadium going to be built? Of course, a lot has changed since then. While there is unlikely to be enough space to build one of the biggest stadiums in the country, starting from scratch would give Chelsea the opportunity to build one of the best, with a new capacity of at least 55,000. Knocking down Stamford Bridge and clearing the debris would take around 12 to 18 months itself, which means the entire project would take at least 5 years to complete. The big issue with that is Chelsea would need somewhere to play for that period of time, and it's hard to find credible alternatives past Wembley, which is a terrifying prospect for supporters who are well aware of the drawbacks of travelling out to the National Stadium for cup finals. Also, when Tottenham were playing there, they played a lot worse. It just doesn't feel like home for the home team, and that's not good. Ground sharing with Fulham is another possibility, but Craven Cottage will have a capacity of just under 30,000 when the new stand is fully open. It's a lovely place to watch football, the Cottage, Craven Cottage, but in the winter, you will freeze your gonads off. So you could redevelop Stamford Bridge as well. This would rank as the second option for the CPO and a number of match-going supporters, but in reality, it's probably the least likely to happen. Chelsea simply do not have the space to replicate the Liverpool approach of building new stands behind the existing ones to cause a minimum amount of disruption to supporters during construction. Instead, the London club would most likely have to close off large areas of the stadium and play in a building site when the stands are being built one at a time. The estimated time of doing this is thought to be even longer than knocking down the stadium and starting from scratch, and the expense would likely be larger. The biggest downside for Chelsea owners, however, will be that delivering an up-to-date, top-of-the-range stadium at the end of a stand-by-stand redevelopment would be incredibly difficult, if not impossible. However painful the process, the non-negotiable for co-controlling owners Bowley and Igbali is that Chelsea must end up with one of the best stadiums in Europe, which is good. I think we can get on board with that. I'm certainly on board with that. I want a good stadium. Not that Stamford Bridge is bad, but, you know, the only team in London with a European Cup. 2, in fact. Surely, and you know, think of Southwest London, prime real estate in England. Surely that should represent one of the best. Third option is move away from Stamford Bridge. This is the scenario which many fans and members of the Chelsea pitch owners could not stomach. For the owners to keep Chelsea's name and move the club to a new site, then it would require at least 75% of the CPO voting in favour. The owners are committed to not trying to move Chelsea without the backing of the CPO, and doing so would take much negotiation. Even if a vote could potentially be passed, the only viable site that would stand any chance of getting the green light from the CPO members and fans would be nearby Earls Court. The positive would of course be that moving here would give Chelsea much more space to build one of the best stadiums in the world and remain in Stamford Bridge at the meantime. But it's not even known whether or not Earls Court could be bought, with the Earls Court Development Company last week releasing a draft master plan to redevelop the site themselves as a destination for entertainment, innovation and excitement. Ooh, that sounds thrilling, which would include housing, of course. The plans are some way off becoming reality, but even if it could be bought, the estimated cost of Earls Court site would still be around 750 million, making it the most expensive option. Of course, they could do nothing. This is essentially what Abramovich did for his first 19 years in charge, but it is not feasible for the current owners if Chelsea want to remain a global brand and grow in size. Stamford Bridge capacity is just under 40,000. I was certain it was like 42,000. It's dwarfed by the rest of the Premier League top 6 and even by its London rivals West Ham United. As a result, Chelsea's matchday revenues are smaller than the clubs they are competing against, which also puts them at a disadvantage in terms of financial fair play. This is okay, yeah, it does sound like it. I mean, it really does need to happen, and I don't want us to move, really, but it needs to happen. So the time frame. Chelsea would ideally like to be playing in a new stadium in or around 2030, which means big decisions must be taken in the coming weeks and months. The planning process could take over a year, even though Abramovich's grand plan to rebuild Stamford Bridge was given the green light by Hammersmith and Fulham Council before being shelved and abandoned altogether. Meetings between the Chelsea board and the Chelsea pitch owners are taking place, while the club are also due to find out whether their £50 million bid to buy a 1.2-acre plot of land next to their current stadium, owned by Housing Association Stoll, will be successful. Buying the Stoll site would significantly increase the amount of land Chelsea could build on were they to rebuild or redevelop the current stadium. It would most likely be used to open out plot and build offices and immersive fan experiences, leaving more room for the stadium itself. Yeah, that sounds nice. Fan zones outside, more space, a bigger experience. Yeah, I'm here for it. The cost. Given Tottenham Hotspur's state-of-the-art stadium cost around £1 billion, then Chelsea must budget for paying at least £1.5 billion for their own new stadium project. There is no other way to finance such a big spend other than taking on debt, although Bowley Clearlake Capital owners may also consider offers outside investment to fund the new stadium. So who's in charge? Board member Jonathan Goldstein has been put in charge of the new stadium project by the Chelsea owners. The London-based property developer is the chief executive officer at Kane International. The real estate company responsible for developing Islington Square, the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills, and Raffles Hotel in Boston. Okay, sounds experienced. Jeanette Marie Smith, the executive vice president planning of development for the LA Dodgers, the baseball club Bowley Park owns, is also taking a lead role. Among her numerous projects have been the renovations of the 56,000 capacity Dodgers Stadium and Fenway Park, home to the Boston Red Sox. Smith is credited with creating the Dodgers center field plaza at the front of the stadium, which has almost 2 acres of restaurants, shops, entertainment, and kids areas. Will there be a stadium sponsor? Now, this is what you've all been waiting for. The Emirates Stadium, the Amex, the Allianz, the Etihad. There's more. The short answer is far too early to say, but it's worth noting that the Dodgers Stadium, home of the LA Dodgers, is not sponsored. Even the Camp Nou is now the Spotify Camp Nou, but I think that's just one of the 1,000 levers they had to pull to buy players they seemingly didn't need. Interestingly, reports in America last year claimed that the Dodgers were looking for a partner or field sponsors instead of trying to cash in on the stadium naming rights. 2 examples quoted were Dodgers Stadium presented by a sponsor, or the sponsors field at Dodger Stadium. Bowley and Iqbali have already demonstrated an ability to look outside the box during their short time at Chelsea. Well, thinking outside the box is smart. I'll be really interested to see what people think about giving the Stamford Bridge a sponsor. I guess it would divide opinion. Obviously it would bring in a really big bit of revenue, and I don't think perhaps people would feel too upset because some of the biggest teams in the world, their stadiums have sponsors. So maybe it's smart because it would still be Stamford Bridge. If it's something Stamford Bridge, or as long as it's not like the McDonald's Stadium, the Chevrolet Stadium, do you know what I mean? Something like that. If it's nothing like that, then it should be okay. Comment down below and let me know what you think about a sponsor for the stadium. Generally, this is what they're here to do. They're here to generate more revenue, think outside the box, find new ideas to essentially make more money, making a bigger stadium, better match day experience, and of course more revenue through more people actually being able to buy tickets, as well as making a sponsor. And of course there'll be a prestige to having a shiny new big stadium where you play in European nights, hopefully again one day. And you know, it's just what you need. Is time for an upgrade. It has been time for an upgrade for a long time. Now it does sound like this will take a long time, but it would be good if the plans begin and we essentially create a roadmap and find out the intentions of the owners and how we're going to do it. Of course, we've got to focus on what's going on the pitch right now, which isn't great, and we're following those stories closely here on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed, and when you do, you turn the bell on. But other than that, I'm going to keep a close eye on this story, and I look forward to bringing you updates. So, thank you for joining me. Let me know if you've enjoyed this style of video, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Peace.